Ladies, gents, and gender bents, welcome to Ducky Productions. My name is Avery.
My name is Nathan.
And today we're going to be talking about two things. One of them is incredibly important and the other one's like, meh.
So the first thing, to get the incredibly important thing out of the way,
is, okay, so I started crocheting. I don't know why. It's just
a lot.
It's just a thing I decided I was going to do. And I made the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. His name is Bubs. He's a little goat. Nathan, do you want to tell the story behind Bubs' name? Or no?
Well, and this is the second thing that she's ever crocheted. So apparently, she's really good. That's what people have been saying. I don't know. But that guy's adorable. I'm waiting for her to make an axolotl.
Yeah.
So that I can have that one and put it on my desk at work. I'm hoping she makes it like
huge,
this big.
Yeah.
I want to hang it over my monitors. I have a desk job. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bubs, as he is... Bring him back out here.
Oh, okay. Here.
Bubs is not a lamb.
He's a goat.
He is a goat. And because he is a goat, we decided that he should be named Beelzebub. I'll put a reference photo here.
So we call him Bubs for short.
We call him Bubs for short.
And I just love the dichotomy of this adorable little thing being named. Like, he's got a heart on his tail. Like, he's so cute, and his name is Beelzebub, which is hilarious.
He is named after the Lord of the Flies.
Yep.
If anybody didn't know why that book is titled that. Do we want to show them the first thing that you crocheted?
Yeah.
It's in the background of our last two videos.
It's right here. It's not that good, but if you want to show them, you can.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I think he's cuter than Bubs.
Her name is Scrump.
Scrump is definitely cuter than Bubs.
So here's the thing about Scrump.
Look at her head. It's so adorable.
Here's the thing about Scrump. Scrump's head is sewn on crooked, so that's great. Scrump was the first. These are called amigurumi, the little like crocheted animals. Scrump was the first one that I seamed together. It's not so much that I have a problem with like Scrump's body or anything. It's just like trying to sew this on, I did not do it straight. Like, her ears are crooked too. Like, everything about her is crooked, but she's still,
it's a miracle.
She's soft too. She's named Scrump because
Scrump's losing some
fur.
Some fur.
She's named Scrump because Lilo's doll from Lilo and Stitch is named Scrump, and Scrump's head in Lilo and Stitch is ridiculously big and like kind of floppy, just like hers is.
Scrump is a punk rocker.
Yeah, but you know what? For a first attempt, she's not terrible. Oh my god.
I love it.
But she isn't even really actually finished because she was supposed to have like a tail and whatever too, and I was like, I hate her. She's ugly. So I didn't finish her, but you have Scrump fur in your hair.
And that is the most important thing that we will talk about today.
Correct.
Next, we're going to get on to a little bit more of a
downturn.
Yeah, a little bit more of a boring topic, which is the subject of the entire journey of us collecting video games. So, if you already tuned out,
I can't blame you.
Yeah. So, anyway, honestly, some people might agree with us. Those are some cute ass.
This is a crochet channel now, but I think we should start off with you because you started like collecting before I did. So we'll at least start with like your early years of collecting, how you got into it, and then we can kind of trade off on we're going to showcase a couple games that were very pertinent in our collections. But tell me, first of all, how did you get into video games? And when did you start just keeping them? When did you define yourself as a game collector?
Absolutely. And that does have to do with the first game on my list. So we were not allowed to have a game console in my house until I think I was like 8, which actually, now that I think about it, is like super young. But anyway, my parents were decently against video games, not for any like religious reasons or anything like that, but
they didn't want you wasting all of your time inside.
Correct. So my grandparents, as we talked about in the last video, had an N64.
Video linked up here somewhere.
And that was all the games that I had played, and they were fun. I really, really liked them, but like, I don't know. I, mostly played with action figures and stuff like that because I didn't have my own game console. And then my parents caved and bought us a PS2, which we could only play for 30 minutes on weekdays and 2 hours on Saturday and Sunday. And we followed that to the letter.
For a day.
For an entire day until we just started playing it all of the time. So, yeah, and a lot of those were Jean-Luc's. As I said in the last video, I was incredibly scared of dying when I first started playing video games. So, like, I just was not, I wouldn't take any risks, and it's hard to get good at video games if you're not willing to ever die.
Right.
But anyway, so then the PS3 came out, and then I got my own PS3, which was probably like, that was a big moment because that was my first console. Got Lego Star Wars, the complete saga. I don't even remember, like, I'm not into trying new things, which is why I try to force myself to try new things. And so I don't know why or how I ever picked up like Turok and Uncharted. I know I got Fallout 3 and Oblivion because my brother was playing them. But I don't know why I ever tried new games, because that's just not a thing that I liked. I didn't like new things as a kid.
Right.
And then I got this whole thing in my head where I'm like, I need to get, I want like some important games, some big games. So then I got Grand Theft Auto 4. And it was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
So I got Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't like Grand Theft Auto 4. I think it's a terrible game. And I was bothered by the fact that I didn't have 1, 2, or 3. I owned Oblivion, which is the Elder Scrolls 4, and it kind of bothered me that I didn't have 1, 2, and 3. I'm a numbers person. I need the numbers.
Yeah.
And so it kind of bothered me that I didn't have 1, 2, and 3, but since it said Oblivion in huge letters and the 4 was super tiny, I was like, meh, but it's like Grand Theft Auto 4. And I'm like, it bothers me that there's just a 4 here and not a 1, 2, and 3. And that's when I decided one day that I needed GTA 1, 2, and 3. And that was it.
Yeah.
My life was totally over from that point on. The hilarious thing about Grand Theft Auto being the thing that got me into collecting is that I don't like any of the Grand Theft Autos except for 5 and Vice City Stories, which I played as a PS2 port. It's actually a PSP game. Not Vice City, Vice City Stories. And can you guys hear that? That's our cats.
Yeah.
Digging at the food door. Anyway, yeah, I hate the Grand Theft Auto games. 5 is great, but oh my god, the rest of those games are just like you've heard me rant for like 90 minutes about every single reason why they're utterly terrible. We're not going to get into that right now. So yes, Grand Theft Auto, ironically, is what made this happen. So, babe, where did your collecting journey begin?
Well, how I got into video games in general was I don't really remember a time where my family didn't have a console. I have older siblings that are quite a bit older than me, so I think that's a big part of it. My oldest sister, Samantha, is 9 years older than I am, so if they were going to get her a console, they kind of had to like let me play it. But the first console I remember playing was the N64, and I just played that a lot as a kid. But, so I've been a Nintendo kid my whole life. But the first console that I ever had that was my console was the GBA. I had the SP. This is not my original SP. I had the Fire Red one. This one is, well, I say Fire Red. I don't know if that's like the name of the color or if I'm just thinking of the Pokemon game. But I had the SP. I never had the original because who doesn't want a backlight? Like, I want a backlight. Real reason being that's what my parents bought me, but...
Yeah, no, the fact that you never had the original speaks volumes because, like, so I played Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets a lot on my Game Boy Color as a kid, and I had the wide one without the backlight. And I like that thing better because, like, this, like, I tried playing it. We got it again. And I tried playing this, and my hands were killing me after about 15 minutes. Like, this thing is way too tiny for...
It doesn't bother me.
My big boy hands.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I think it all depends on, like, how you're holding it. Because you're not normally using these buttons terribly much. But, so this was the first console that I ever had, like, handheld console, and I'm much more of a handheld gamer to begin with. I prefer handheld experiences.
When's the last time you played your Switch docked?
Outside of streaming?
Yeah.
I don't know. But my first home console was the GameCube, and I think that's when I really started to, like, be into video games. Because when we were kids, everyone had a Game Boy, everyone had a DS. But I got the GameCube, and that's when I was like, this is a whole world of, like, stuff. As far as when I started collecting, I've wanted to be a collector since I was a teenager, like probably 15, 16, when I realized other people had collections. But I never really had, like, the financial means to really amass a big collection. Normally it was like, I have to sell my games to get new games. I have to do this to get that. Like, I never had a stable enough, like, job and whatever as a young adult to really get into collecting until I met you. Then at which point I had, like, a decently sized collection. I had probably like 12, 15 games, which is not nothing, but it's not a lot of games. And then I met you, and it changed a lot. And not because I've always wanted to be a collector, but it just kind of, you know.
Well, and it's crazy how much it ramped up, because I considered myself a collector long before I met you, and before we started dating 3 years ago. My video games would have easily fit on this shelf right here. Yeah. Very easily. There would have been quite a bit of space left. I originally, I've collected a lot of things. Usually I'm like, I just like this thing and I like this thing. And then I'll get more of those things, whether it's books or comics or video games or movies. And then once I have like 100 of them, like a flip switches in my brain, and I'm like, I need all of them that were ever made.
Yeah.
Which is an impulse that luckily I have distanced myself from in recent years, aside from the one
hobby,
most important one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think with collecting too, as we started to be more into it together, then it became like an us thing. Because normally before COVID, we would go to our 2 local retro gaming stores that we have, and sometimes we'd hit up like a GameStop or something every single weekend. Like, normally we would go, and we didn't always buy stuff every single weekend, because especially me, finding Nintendo games is hard. But we would go together, and it's been a hobby of ours was it for our anniversary? Or, it was
we do that for every one of our anniversaries. We
go to a bigger city away from us, and we go video game hunting, and that's what our anniversary is. And we get pizza, so...
We have like a $500 budget each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous, but it's great.
Anytime we go to any other city that's not ours, for whether it's a family trip or whatever, we're like, oh, but we gotta check out what video game stores that they're going to have. We have to put that on the itinerary.
We went to Seattle, and we went to both Pink Gorilla locations. If you guys live in the Seattle area, or you're going to be visiting after COVID is over, I highly recommend going to Pink Gorilla, because they have an amazing selection. They take great care of their games, and I really love Kelsey, the owner of their store. She's part of the Metal Jesus crew. Links to all of their channels in the description. But fantastic store. Best retro gaming store as far as like care to their products that I've been to. They care about them deeply.
Yeah, I've never been to a used game store where like 90% of the stock I wouldn't have known if it wasn't brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our games that are important to us and where they came from and how they defined other parts of our collecting journey.
I don't have any games that are very important to me on my list. They're mostly the things that pushed me forward in my collecting journey. Almost none of them. I think one is a game that I actually care about.
Yeah. Nathan's a little different than I am. So, to lead into our next point, I think one interesting aspect about us is how incredibly different we are as collectors. Not only in that we collect different things. We're not generally interested in the same stuff. Like, I care about Nintendo and some PS4 and stuff like that, but it's mainly like JRPGs.
And it's stuff you like.
Right. And you care about everything else. But the way we collect is very different.
Absolutely. Like we talked about in the last video, you have the first Xenoblade Chronicles. You sold the second Xenoblade Chronicles, and if they make a third one and they have a combat system you like, you'll buy that one as well and not own two. And I could just never do that. I have this compulsion around the numbers thing. I need all of the numbers. And so as far as my focus on collecting, a lot of it started out as this kind of like pretentious thing where it's like, I need all of the important games ever. I need all of the Half-Lifes and all of the Dooms and all of the other important games and stuff, I guess. Anyway, and so that's why a lot of them, they could fit all on one shelf. But then once we started dating and once I started getting a lot of those games and my list was getting smaller, my list started expanding a lot. And also we're going into the game store every single week. My fun money is kind of piling up and I don't have anything to buy because it's all fairly rare stuff or stuff that's over $20, and I just am not willing to spend that on a video game. And
that's not true anymore.
That's not true anymore. No, I rarely spend that on video games in stores, though.
That's true.
Like, something will be like $32. Like, a brand new game will drop dramatically in price, and I'll be like, I can wait. That. And so I just started picking up all this stuff that I had never heard of, or like that wasn't important, or that had terrible reviews or whatever. And so that's how this happened. It's mostly garbage.
And I mean, not all of it is.
No, a lot of it's actually really good. I actually actively avoid, like, if I've never heard of a game, I will look up a review, and like if it's under 70, it better be like the exact kind of game that I'm interested in. Otherwise, I'm not touching that thing.
Right.
But like, yeah, picking up a $3 to $7 game, like,
what beats that?
Exactly.
And then you get exposed to all kinds of different weird stuff. But the other interesting part about you is not just that you're like, oh, I care about all these important games and then I'm going to buy like the weird stuff. He buys games he actively does not enjoy playing.
Like all of the Grand Theft Autos. That's how my collection started, was with games I hate. Well, I have to keep the tradition going.
But it's like, he had told me for a long time, he's like, I'm not into JRPGs, I'm not going to do blah, blah, blah. And then he decided one day that he needed to own all of the Final Fantasies for some reason. And I was like, Nathan, they're like the JRPG. You understand what you're getting into, right? And then he did it anyway, and he played 10, and he didn't like it. And he's still like, you just bought Final Fantasy VII Remake, even though you played 10, and you were like, I don't like it. It's not like, it's hilarious to me. I get it, because you want to have like a better understanding of the video game landscape, even though he won't play Nintendo.
I do find it educational. That is actually another part of it that does motivate me.
Yeah. So, as far as the type of collector that I am, I don't really know how to describe that. I guess mainly I buy Nintendo. Like, let's just be real. I'm mainly a Nintendo person just because them as a company interest me the most and they tend to make the games that I like the most. I'm definitely not always motivated by quality, though. Speaking of, so I am going to share one game with you. So I will say this game is better than it has any right to be. I wouldn't call it great. I wouldn't call it good. But this is the kind of stuff I like to buy, which...
Is that Ham Ham Taro Heartbreak?
No, it's Ham Taro Ham Ham Heartbreak. So, but...
I knew the name.
Yeah, you're a jerk. So, but this is the kind of stuff I like to buy, which is just like nostalgic, weird, cute things, I guess. Is like kind of where I'm at. Because it's not necessarily... I have to really like a series to buy a game that I don't particularly care about. Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. But...
Whereas I just do that all the time.
Right. But I do like to go a little bit off the beaten path and find interesting games. But I'm not the kind of person that's like, I know what I do and don't like. I will try a game. Like if you're like, hey, check this out. Like I think you might like it. But I'm not going to buy games that I know full well I have no interest in.
Well, and that's the thing is that, like, yes, I buy a lot of games that I don't like, series that I'm not interested in, and old classic games for pretentious reasons. I don't know. I do. Okay, the game history thing is very much more interesting to me, so the pretentious stuff has fallen by the wayside. But I found a ton of stuff. I think I said this in a previous video. I found a ton of stuff that I'm super interested in, that I super like. Like, I think it was our first video. I was never going to try Wolfenstein, Doom, or Tomb Raider.
Yep.
And I really, really, really like most of the games from those series. And yes, I did also buy the ones that I didn't like and continue buying them even though I knew I wasn't going to like them, and beat them even though I hated every single second of them, because the PlayStation 1 Tomb Raiders are possibly one of the worst gaming experiences I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And I did force myself through that.
Yeah. How many of them did you play in a row?
3.
Yeah.
And I think there's 6.
Yeah. Bad times. I remember when you were playing those.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I watched you play some of them and I was like, this is... Wow. The controls are awful.
I can't imagine. Those are one of those things. It's like for the gaming historian thing. You know, I know that it's like the climbing and shooting and whatever. Like that was the thing, but that is one of those PlayStation 1 games that is so fiercely begging for a second analog stick.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of those games where it genuinely shocks me how it was ever popular. Because like Grand Theft Auto, don't like the Grand Theft Autos, but there was that exploration factor. Grand Theft Auto 3 is, I think, the first console open world 3D game. Like, I get those big milestones, but I'd be fine if Assassin's Creed and Uncharted never existed to not have the abysmal apocalyptic gameplay of the PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider games.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I understand.
It might be a little bit dramatic, but...
You?
Dramatic?
Never! Never, ever. But speaking of things that you never thought that you'd be into and you would never, like, buy and like, I have a console that I bought that I swore to God I would never own.
I genuinely don't know.
On principle.
Never mind, I figured it out.
And that console I do now own. This was the moment where I was like, I am a collector. Like, I am, because I'm buying things that I swore to God, I'm not doing it. It's the Wii U, guys. It's the Wii U. And here's the thing. Here's the thing of why I said I wasn't going to buy the Wii U. I was like, I already own a Switch. They're porting all of the good games over, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't need that console because, like, I'm going to be able to play all the games. It doesn't matter. And then I got the Nathan mindset where I was like, but then you're going to own all of the consoles except for one. Like, why would you do that? So...
I'm just seeping into her brain.
So we were at a local retro store one day, and they had one for sale for a decent price. And I was like, okay. And I bought it. And now my Wii U collection is not big at all. I would say it's probably like 15-ish games.
So like half the North American library.
But I kind of fell in love with the Wii U. I actually like it a lot. It's kind of cool. I know it was like the console that almost undid Nintendo, but the Wii U is genuinely, like, it had some cool ideas. They've made some really big mistakes with it, but I love Wind Waker on it. Best way to play Wind Waker is on the Wii U. The best way to play Twilight Princess is on the Wii U. There's still a handful of games that haven't been ported to the Switch. That handful of games is getting smaller every day, but it's still there. And honestly, if you want to be able to play those Switch ports at super cheap, buy a Wii U. Because it's literally like the Wii U that I bought was like $100. And then the games are so much cheaper on the Wii U because I got Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze used for like $10. And Nintendo's charging like 60 for it, you know? So if you're really into Nintendo and you're really into collecting, the Wii U is honestly actually pretty freaking cool. And you can play all of your Wii games on it and they're output through HDMI. And that's neat. So that was the moment where I was like, Nathan got me. He got me. He got me into this collector mindset. And now I will never escape. But Twilight Princess, or Wind Waker. Very good. Oh, God, this game is beautiful. It still holds up so good. If you've never played Wind Waker, do yourself a favor.
That does blow my mind that, like, when we met, you had 12 games. Mm-hmm. And you might have had more if...
About that, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you might have had more, like, if it were possible, I guess.
Yeah.
If you had a choice. But, like, 3 years later, I mean... 250 of these back there are yours? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, you ramped up a lot. Like, I ramped up, but you ramped up a lot in your collecting. Yeah. The next game that I have on my list is also a game that I don't care about at all. But it's definitely the hardline start of when I was definitely a collector.
Yeah.
So, like, the PS3 and the PS2 facilitated me becoming a collector. The Grand Theft Auto thing, you could say, was where I started becoming a collector, but that was mostly just an obsession to have every single one in a particular series. I don't think I quite had the mindset of, like, collecting other games outside of the series that I already had. But the game in question is more symbolic of when I definitely became a collector, which is Red Dead Revolver. And if your brain is spinning in circles right now, yes, what you're thinking is correct. If you've never heard of this, Red Dead 2 is the third Red Dead game.
Yep.
This is just it's honestly really fun. It's shockingly fun. I don't care about it at all, but it's a shockingly fun game where you use the same kind of targeting system as in Red Dead 2, and it's basically just a shooting gallery game where you go and just shoot people up.
Yeah.
That's the whole story. So, but anyway, the really weird thing about this game is that he has the same scar as John Marston, but his name is Red, which is why it's called Red Dead, I guess. Anyway, when I originally bought this and many other games, I owned the Red Label copy. I'd give you an example. But I don't own any Red Labels because they're for heathens. Red Label, Platinum Hits.
This is another place where we differ.
Yeah, Greatest Hits, whatever. Oh, actually, Viva Pinata, just a moment. So, really good example of this is this horrific, trash, awful case that I am ashamed to even have on our shelf. Look at this. Ugh, I hate it.
Yeah. But it's Viva Pinata, and this game's amazing. If you guys ever want to play, just to cut this in there real quick, if you guys ever want to play a really good game for the 360, it's also backwards compatible on the Xbox One. Viva Pinata is the shit. It's amazing. Anyway.
Yeah, so originally owned, it's just a Red Label at the top. It's not the original version. And so it was these games. This was the main game that I remember hunting for to find the Black Label copy. And I only buy those original copies now, except for big box PC games, which gets really tough and really, really expensive. But definitely for console games with plastic cases, I only buy the Black Label. And I remember, because this is the game that I was having a conversation with my high school girlfriend about, and she started yelling at me because of how dumb it was that I was rebuying games that I already owned for a different colored strip across the top. And that's how I knew I was a collector.
You know what? Prior to me getting more into the collector mindset, I didn't understand it. I wasn't really judging you, but I was like, I don't get it, but like, live your life. It's your life. Now I understand. I am definitely more lax on that whole rule than you are, but I get it.
I am so obsessive compulsive about it that I actually I bought that version of Viva Pinata for her because it was the copy that they had and she really wanted it. So it's actually, I am the cause of my own torment.
Yeah.
But I found a non-platinum hits copy and I tried to buy her the game again so that we didn't have to have that on the shelf. And she's like, no, the one you got me was a gift. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll get you another gift. Like, it'll be the same gift. Just please, God.
Just get rid of it.
No dice.
No dice. Now, if we want to talk about one of the times where I've been the most ridiculous, because I like to act like Nathan's so ridiculous and oh my gosh, like, that's silly. Not really, but it's so silly that you would like replace Black Labels and blah, blah, blah. There was a time in my life where I bought a whole new console because I liked the way it looked. And that console was the Animal Crossing Switch.
Whole new console is a bit of an understatement.
So, here's the funny part, is that I've had a Switch since around launch, and I had just bought a new Switch because the version 2 came out with the better battery life and everything 6 months prior to buying this. So, I literally spent $300 to get blue and green Joy-Cons and an Animal Crossing dock.
And then she bought a Switch Lite.
Yeah!
And if you count the one that was stolen out of your apartment, mail room.
Yeah.
How many Switches does that make?
Okay, so 1, 2, 3...
Is that 4?
4, 5.
5 Switches in 3 years.
I know I'm a ridiculous human being. I know that this is...
But hey, I bought this $7 game twice. What the hell am I doing?
I know that I'm a ridiculous human being. I know that that is like unfettered consumerism. I know that
Unfettered.
I know that I am playing into the hands of capitalism. But it's Animal Crossing.
Yeah, you need to get yourself some class solidarity.
I couldn't... Here was the thing. I kept telling Nathan, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. I already have a Switch. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to do it. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, actually, I need it. And that was right after the pre-orders had completely sold out.
It was such a bold-faced lie that I actually don't even remember you saying that.
Yeah. And so I made Nathan get up at 7 a.m. with me to go to Target so that I could buy it the day that it launched because I really needed it.
But I was incredibly willing to do it because I am a very good husband.
True. But yeah, so Nathan has his quirks and I have my more expensive quirks.
Wasn't it... Okay, I have some expensive quirks.
That's true.
We'll get there.
But
no, but she was like, well, we usually get done with XYZ thing around 8, so we can go at 8. And I was like, it's the Animal Crossing Switch. Do you want one? we should go at 7.
Yeah.
Like, I pushed for 7.
Well, and it was good that you did.
This is just me establishing how good of a husband I am.
True. It was good that you did, because when we got there, they only had like 5 of them. And we didn't know if they were going to do a re-release. By the way, guys, they did re-release the Animal Crossing Switch. So if you're desperate to get it, you should still be able to find it online retailer somewhere if you're watching this in like current times, not 5 years from now. But they only had like 4 or 5 of them there, and Nathan was like, so I bought a Rossetti plush while we were there, and he was like, "You're not gonna get Tom Nook and Isabel?" And I was like, "Nah."
I'm like, "You're just gonna come back for them?"
And then I did. That same day, I went back and bought them.
Where do you get all of this money? Like, see, she says she has expensive hobbies, but like, I am always broke.
Yeah.
And we'll get there.
Yeah. But
like, somehow buying 3 switches in the span of like 8 months hasn't run you utterly and completely broke, but I always manage to be completely out of money.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Is I did sell my other Switch. So I don't have 3 Switches in my possession. I did sell the other one. And to get that version 2 Switch, I did trade in my old Switch and other things. So it's still stupid. Don't get me wrong. It's still incredibly dumb. But I don't spend as much money on it as it sounds. As far as the Switch Lite, yeah, I bought that full price. But it is also, you know, it significantly cheaper. And to you know, sound maybe perhaps a little bit less ridiculous, but probably not, I do have arthritis. The reason that I bought a Switch Lite was not even because, I mean, I like the way they look. Hey, I like the way they look, but this Switch, I like playing in handheld mode, and it really hurts my hands. I'm not saying it's the only reason, okay?
You had no idea.
Yeah, I did. I knew that it was lighter and easier to hold. People had said so. But this Switch hurts my hands if I play it for terribly long.
You wanted it because it was cute and you like playing in handheld mode more.
And it hurts my hands less. God. He won't even let me lie to YouTube to look better. It is true though, part, and I'm not saying it was the biggest part of the decision. Part of it was because I have arthritis. So.
Segue. All right, so we haven't exactly been doing our collecting journey in chronological order, but next in line for me was a milestone for me purely due to the cost.
That's fair.
I griped over purchasing this thing for many moons and finally bit the bullet. You've already seen this if you watched our older videos, and bought, oh god, this cover's so cool.
I will give you, I hate this game. I love the way the box looks.
Yeah, and so it's damaged, which, you know, is just unacceptable. But yeah, I bought this for $170 and Arena for $130. That's the first game. This is Elder Scrolls, by the way. If you couldn't tell, I know it's not very. Anyway, yeah, this for $170, Arena for $130, and that is a lot of money. But you know, I needed the first 3. Morrowind cost me $10.
Yeah.
I needed the first 3 because I owned Elder Scrolls 4. So this was part of that same like GTA thing. So it was probably over a year. I think much more than a year before I bothered to actually get these, just because they were so expensive. Now you can get much better copies of these for much cheaper. I think I found a mint condition Arena for 50, 60, 70. And I have a mint condition copy, but this is, I think I found some really good quality ones for like $100. So I want another one. And I am willing to spend $100 on that because I'm an insane person and this is an addiction.
The one thing
That's why I go to Elder Scrolls Anonymous.
Right. Well, you're off the wagon because guess what? Guess what he's playing right now? After we did a video about how this game is broken.
I said I was playing Arena in the last video.
And
I
now
beat
he's
it.
playing Daggerfall.
And now I'm playing Daggerfall.
But one thing I will say, I think that you becoming a big box PC collector in general was a pretty big step in your collecting journey, especially because it's also pretty superfluous because you don't play them off of the discs in this box.
That one I have tried.
Yeah, and couldn't get it to work. But
yeah, it works. It's a perfectly operational disc, and I did manage to play it. The game is just so broken that you need a very specific copy.
Yes. But
I think this in Arena, this in Arena might be the very first big box PC games that I ever owned, too.
But I do love big box PC because as much as I hate this game, like I said, I hate this game so much. But this game, like, the boxes are really cool, and they come with cool stuff on the inside, and they're just neat. Big box PC games are basically collector's edition of PC games.
Now, yeah, so once you cross the line of spending $170 on a game, all other games start to look a lot cheaper.
True.
And it gets more dramatic than that. But again, we're getting there. To end our little blurb on Daggerfall, I want you to tell me how you feel about the little quote down here.
What does it say?
It says, "Prepare to experience your new obsession."
They're not wrong. Unfortunately.
All right, next we're going to do a quick one. This was a fairly big one of mine, actually. This game is kind of like Red Dead, just representational of
the obsession.
Yeah, this is kind of the specific. Okay, so I'm a PlayStation guy. I've always been a PlayStation guy, but I've grown to deeply love my Xbox One.
The Xbox One is great.
Like I said, I bought a PlayStation 2, or my parents got us a PlayStation 2, and then I got a PlayStation 3 because I was an idiot and just suffered through that entire generation, except for, like, I don't know, Last of Us and Uncharted.
Yeah.
And then I got a PlayStation 4, and like halfway through the PlayStation 4, I was like, man, I own all these really good PS3 games, and I own all these really good PS2 games, and I got all these important games, but I don't own Halo, and I don't own Gears of War, and I had played them on my brother's Xbox 360 because he was smart and bought the correct console for that generation. So yeah, that's the next game is Halo because it inspired me to buy 3 more consoles.
Yeah.
And a bunch of games for them. There is the reason why I didn't want it is because I thought it would look dumb on my shelf with just Halo and Gears of War. But there are actually like at least 5 other good exclusive games for all 3 of those consoles. I've started buying more like those junker $3 to $7 games that I have no idea what they are, and I just pick up off the shelf. I try to get those from the Xbox just to bulk up the collection a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, that's my Xbox collection is Halo, Gears of War, Fable, and a bunch of total trash.
And Viva Pinata.
Mm-hmm. So this next one is kind of both of ours. She's excited.
Yeah.
We are, if you couldn't tell, I don't know if you had surmised, but we tend to like physical copies of games.
Yeah.
I'd say it's an interest of ours, yeah.
Yeah.
Like So, yeah, to the point where I will literally buy the game and then I will buy the game physically and then I will buy it on GOG. Because they usually like Daggerfall, that game doesn't run if it's not the GOG version.
Yeah.
There are other patches, but I've never gotten and like I have Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox because they look cool and they're really nice. But I'm playing those things on PC. I'm not anyway. So yeah, we like to own physical copies, and this will show you just how far we will go to get physical copies of games because I own. Is this on Switch, actually?
I don't know if it's physical on Switch, though.
Okay. Well, anyway, we own a physical copy of Cuphead. But they didn't make a physical copy of Cuphead. They kinda did.
Yeah. Okay. But look at how cute and tiny it is. Like, all right. This is the only game that I am okay with owning, like, the digital download disc, whatever.
There's no disc version.
Right.
And, like, if you're gonna get important games, Cuphead is an absolute must-have on the Xbox One.
And it's so little.
Yeah, no. So, it's not a physical copy.
You want to blur that, because I think that...
No, I think it's on the backside.
Oh. Okay.
It is on the backside.
Okay, good. I was like, I don't think you've downloaded that yet. Be careful.
No, I have not. I don't think I turned it around. We'll see.
You might have to blur.
Anyway, yeah, no, that thing is adorable.
It's so cute. And, like, Cuphead just kind of works as a little itty bitty teeny.
Yeah, if that were like Halo 5.
That wouldn't look right. That just wouldn't be right.
No, it definitely works for Cuphead. So, what's your next guy?
You know what? Speaking of games that you bought digitally or whatever, and you need a physical copy, they finally put out a physical copy of...
I genuinely don't know what this is. I completely forgot. I watched her grab it. Oh.
Stardew Valley on the Switch. This is my very first ever collector's edition of a game. I was very psyched to get it.
And it's sassy.
So this looks a lot more like a big box PC game than it does like a collector's edition. I just love that it comes like in a big box and you like open it up like a big box game.
There's stuff in it.
There is so much stuff in it.
I won't take the stuff out.
Not all of it. I won't go into too much detail, but there's like all kinds of goodies in here. And the coolest...
A guidebook.
Yes.
A actual like small Switch case.
Yeah.
Did you put that over there?
Yes I did.
Yeah, so she can like have it on the shelf as well as display it.
Yeah. But the coolest thing that came with this collector's edition, it's so adorable. What's this? It's like a little painted wood standee, like diorama. It is so cute.
And the really disappointing thing about it is that you cannot put these little standees wherever you want. They have to go in these exact places because the people who made this just didn't care about customization. It's all about making your farm however you want, but I guess you can't make your little standee
how you want. But
Avery disagrees with me.
I do. I think like how are they supposed to make it customizable? I don't understand.
Maybe you want the cows in the front so that you can't see the sign.
Yeah, maybe. But this game, Stardew Valley for one, if you've never played it, dude, just do it. It's amazing. It's one of the best games like ever. But two, oh, sorry.
Are you trying to do something with that?
I'm trying to put this away.
Okay.
I can't get it. Nathan has to help me with things like this often. Yeah, so Stardew Valley is just an incredible game. I love it so much. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah, I'm into life sims and farming games, if y'all couldn't tell. But this collector's edition in particular is just like the bee's knees. It's so pretty. They put so many cool things in it. Check out the back. That'll show you everything that's in there. Also, I'm just plugging this real hard because I want the creator of Stardew Valley to get all the money.
This is not a paid promotion video.
No, it is not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored.
But he does need all the money.
True. Because he made that whole game by himself and I just cannot fathom. But that is definitely a new direction that I think my collector brain is going to go. That's my first collector's edition, and now I don't think it's going to be my last. I think video games are kind of like tattoos. Once you get one of like whatever kind, then you need more. Most people would say potato chips, but if you have tattoos, you know what I'm talking about. You can't just get one tattoo, hence this.
Yeah, so that was a recent purchase of hers. My last one is a recent purchase of mine. Not as recent because I had to spend the last several months paying back our account with my fun money for this purchase that I made. So, yeah, we've been foreshadowing this moment the entire video.
Oh, no.
We have lost the light.
That was weird.
Yeah, what happened there? Oh, is that... I hope this looks the same.
I hope so. We'll find out.
Yeah, so I said when you buy a $170 game like Daggerfall, it makes other games seem cheaper. Well, this game made Daggerfall seem cheap.
Yeah.
So this game does not cost as much money as I paid for it, but I was looking on eBay for several months, and every single copy that I could find was heavily damaged, and I don't tolerate that shit. So, I was forced to buy.
Someone had a gun to your head.
Somebody had a gun to my head, and I bought a mint condition, sealed in box copy of Quake. And a lot of people won't have any reference for how much money that could have possibly cost. But it's a big box PC game of an incredibly popular franchise from the 90s. So sealed in box is a lot. Should I tell him how much?
No. We'll keep that a mystery. You can check out price charting.
Probably double whatever that is.
Right.
Because I paid way too much. Literally a week after I bought it, because I'm an idiot, one popped up on eBay that was mint, not sealed in box, for half that price. And, yeah, I didn't even really like this game. Doom is so much better. This game kind of sucked. The level design is just trash. I opened it immediately. If you can tell, it's not in the shrink wrap. It is not sealed in box anymore. It's just mint condition. So yeah, this proves that I will go to any ungodly lengths to get what I want. Don't with me.
No, I think it's important to mention, guys, that video games are our number one hobby. It's like mainly what we do at all times.
We really don't splurge on anything else.
Right.
Video games are like, we don't have friends, we don't go out, like it's just video games.
We don't drink. It's my one vice. But mainly I want to have other people understand, like, one, you don't need to be a collector in order to be a gamer. Like, you don't need to have all of this to call yourself a gamer. We're collectors, and this is what we like to do. This is a fun hobby for us. But don't feel bad if you only own, like, 5 games. If there are 5 games you really love, that's awesome. But if you want to start collecting, here's what I recommend. 1, collect for a console you already have. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, what game do I start collecting first? Like, what console do I start to collect for first? Whatever one you have that you like. It doesn't need to be the NES. It doesn't need to be the original Xbox.
And like, you know, most people are like, oh yeah, just start buying games that you like. And like, I didn't do that. So what you should do is what I did, which is figure out what you like about video games. And if that's, you know, if you're most people, that would be games that you like.
Right.
For me, apparently that wasn't.
Yeah.
Figure out what you like about video games and just buy those.
Yeah.
And also, you don't need to, you know, you don't need to be a collector to be a gamer. Sure, you don't need to have a ton of money to collect either.
True.
Like I said, a ton of what we have back there was like between $3 and $10.
True.
A ton of cheap stuff and a ton of really, really good stuff. You can find some high quality stuff for under $10.
Well,
so
it all depends on the consoles. Like, if you're looking to get into collecting cheap, like you want to get into consoles that are cheap to collect for.
360 and PS3.
And original Xbox is pretty cheap too.
That is true.
If you want to get into Nintendo and start collecting, I would say best place to start is Wii and Wii U. Those are fairly cheap right now. 3DS games are pretty cheap too. What you want to avoid is the GameCube and the SNES, because they're a lot. But you can find even Game Boy Advance games, like some of the more off the beaten path stuff. What you need to do, look into some hidden gem lists. There's all kinds of awesome, weird games that are fairly cheap. So I want people to understand you don't have to have all the money in the world and you don't have to have all the games in the world to be in this hobby.
And you don't want to be us, because this is literally like, people are like, oh my God, how could you possibly afford this? Is
all we do.
This is 95% of our discretionary income for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. If you include,
So, yeah, you end up acquiring a lot if you do it that way.
Correct. Now, the very last thing that we need to talk about is...
Oh, yes. Yes.
When we very first started dating, Nathan and I think are... I don't want to say possessive people, but kind of. When it comes to things that we really care about, we're kind of protective, you know? So when we first started dating and when we moved in together, our game collection was separate. We had separated game collections.
And a big part of the reason there is not because, you know, we knew that we were never, ever going to get divorced.
Right.
And if one of the other people's died, then, like...
the other person would take their stuff.
Just absorb their game collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, there was no risk of that happening, but still we had them separate. A decent part of the reason is I like to have mine totally alphabetical. Mm-hmm. And I like to see all of the series right next to each other. And apparently that drives a lot of people insane. So the PS2...
It's not just that you do it totally alphabetical. He didn't separate console by console.
Right. They're alphabetical back there by console. They were alphabetical by series. So you had the 2 Grand Theft Autos on PlayStation 1, and then, you know, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas on the PS2, and then 4 and 5 on the PS3. So all of the consoles were just, like, running together like that, and it was alphabetical by series, and it was beautiful, and it's the best way to organize your games. But I also like to finish all of my games. It's probably one of the most unhealthy obsessions that I have. And so I had all of the games that I hadn't beaten yet separated on another shelf so that I knew which ones I had yet to play. And so that was the way that we lived. And, you know, we couldn't, yeah, like we combined our finances.
We got married.
We moved in together. But putting our video game collections together
was like the biggest leap of faith we had ever taken, because we talked about it. Honestly, we talked about putting our video games together for longer than we talked about getting married. Like, we just kind of decided one day, we were like, yeah, we'll get married, whatever. We decided we were going to move in together, like, far earlier than a lot of people do.
Putting our finances together was one conversation. It was a long conversation, and we talked it all through and everything, but it was a single conversation.
We talked about putting our video games together for many, many moons many conversations.
We'd go on like an hour-long drive and just talk about like, but how would that work? But how would we do it? But
exactly. And I think for me, my reservations were mainly like, I don't know, like, I kind of like that my collection's all Nintendo and it's so cute all together, and I don't really remember what my arguments were anymore because I like them being together now.
Because you got your way.
Well, yeah.
I'm the best husband.
I didn't say, okay, but I was totally fine with them being separate. But if they were going to be together, I wanted them to look nice.
They were separate for like 2.5 years. You did not convince me. I accepted that this is the only way that it was going to happen. And I honestly moved my games around a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that was something that I did with my collection. I moved them between shelves or organized them in different ways. Whatever, like, probably once every 6 months. And I think one time I was like, let's put them together, because I can't think of how to stir this up this time in a way that's not that. And so, yeah, we were basically just doing it to try it. And basically what it did was alleviated my incredible obsession with beating every single game and never playing a game that I like. I probably still would not have played Horizon Zero Dawn, Red Dead 2, or Last of Us Part 2 if our games were separate.
Yeah. Well, and I think because you still want to beat all of your games, like that's still a goal of yours, but now it's more relaxed, like I can play Daggerfall again if I want to.
And I own Final Fantasy 1, so like there's a huge stopgap there making it so that it's probably never going to happen.
Right. But you've relaxed a lot, and I think also the cool part about us having our collections together is we keep an eye out for the other. And I mean, we did this before too, but especially now, like when Nathan gets a new game, I'm like, our collection's getting bigger. Cool. Like we get excited for the other person's stuff more because it's like our collection is growing. Like when we got an NES and an SNES for like our Christmas present to ourselves. We're never gonna play them, but we're both like pretty excited about it.
We're gonna play them about as much as we play the PS1.
Yeah, which is never.
I turned that on for 5 minutes. I tested a game in it to make sure it worked.
It was his birthday present.
Mm-hmm. And then we found a tiny PS1 and it was super cute and it was $30.
And we bought it.
And we've never even turned it on.
No.
I don't think I've ever plugged it in.
Nope. Nope. But I really enjoy, I will say, I really, really enjoy that game collecting is a hobby that we have together. I think game collecting, and everyone's gonna, like, enjoy it in a different way, but I think if you have a buddy, whether it's your spouse or your friend or whoever, but you have a buddy that you can do it with, it makes it way more fun. You get to pick through all the games in the retro game store, or there's like a couple pawn shops we like to go to. It's a bonding experience, and that's honestly the thing I like the most about game collecting is I get to do it with Nathan. That makes it the most fun part of it all, is it's something we do together. So get a buddy, or marry a girl who likes video games, or a man who likes video games, or a person who likes video games.
Or like other stuff. It could be like movies or books or comics or
Tamagotchis. I mean, you don't like them.
Do other people like other things? Like, are there like horses, I guess?
Yeah.
You could collect horses.
Or stamps.
Sports.
Oh, yeah.
You could collect the
sports cards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sports cards, yeah. Like baseball stuff.
Cards. Those are so useless.
Issues of Sports Illustrated.
That's not about sports. That's about boobies. Have you ever seen Sports Illustrated? That is not about sports.
I have. I had one hidden under my mattress for a long time as a kid.
But I will say, I think collecting in general is something that people should do because it gives you something little to look forward to. And whether that's game collecting or you collect stamps or like coins or I don't know, people collect all kinds of things. Having like one thing where you can like treat yourself, like, you know, however often you want to
with
that
95% of your discretionary income.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like for other people, like, oh, it's, you know, Friday, I'm gonna go get myself a new stamp. I don't know why I'm on stamp collecting, but
I'm gonna get myself a new horse because it's payday.
But I think it gives you something to look forward to in your life of just like enjoying that thing. And I know that sounds very consumerist, and to some minimalists out there it might seem it, but go collect rocks then. They're free.
All of the minimalists watching our channel will be disgusted.
I mean, I do have a collection of rocks.
That's the hilarious thing. I'm a minimalist in every single other way aside from this.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, Avery's like, how do you think we should decorate this? She never asked me that question because she knows what my answer is going to be. And it's like, nothing. As long as we have a couch and TVs, nothing else needs to be anywhere on any of the walls. You're just going to clutter it up.
Well, in general, we're actually fairly minimalist, just like in our lives. Our house is not cluttered in general. I know this room seems like there's a lot going on because there is.
By far the busiest room
of ours. Yeah. But collecting is fun and it's my favorite thing to do.
We don't know how to end this video,
so I'm just gonna sing the outro. Make sure to hit subscribe and like. I'm done now. Make sure
Make sure to like and
describe.
Make sure to like and describe all of our social medias. Will be down in the doobly-doo. If you want to check out any of our previous videos, we'll have an end card. Am I forgetting something?
No, I don't think so.
And that is all, folks.
But now we need something for the end card, so...
Yeah. Give me a minute. What?
Oh...
When collecting video games, you may come across a game that is in decent condition, but the case itself is a little more damaged than you would appreciate. Say the slipcover within the game is in quality condition, the manual is perfectly acceptable, the disc looks mighty fine, but the case itself is quite damaged. Fear not. Purchase the game, for there are ways of alleviating the making it better. And that way is Motocross Mania 3. And you can purchase as many copies of Motocross Mania 3 as your heart desires.
The thing is, with this solution to bettering your gaming collection, it must be Motocross Mania 3.
If you buy any other game, you are doing yourself a disservice. Unless it is not on the PS2, in which case you will not be able to purchase Motocross Mania 3, which is why if it is on the 360, it must be a copy of... What was it? Dance Revolution, like 11 or something like that.
So,
and this is why you're buying Motocross Mania 3, because of that price tag right there.
Yeah. You buy Motocross Mania 3 and you salvage its outer carcass in order to better your game collection.
I wish I had kept my other copies. I literally had like 7 of these. But I used them because I actually do use them. So then I just had 3 copies of Motocross Mania 3 with incredibly damaged cases. And I no longer have my 3 copies of Dance Revolution Party Mix 14 or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, literally it was such a coincidence, and they had so many copies of these that now when I am looking for a game case to replace a PS2 game case that's a little damaged, I will not buy one unless it is Motocross Mania 3.
And to be clear, it's cheaper to buy these than it is to buy Repro PS2 cases.
Yeah. No, literally it's 99 cents. Like, yeah, and the place we go to has a constant buy 3, get 1 free, so I can get 4 minty PlayStation 2 cases for $3. And the Motocross Mania 3 cases are always mint condition because nobody ever bought the game.
Yeah. Please leave me a comment because I'm lonely. I have no friends.
That's a good point. We don't have any comments on these videos, you sons of bitches. Start writing that shit down there. It helps with the algorithm.
Also, that helps a lot too.
Yeah, liking helps.
Thanks for coming.